Imagine this, August 2019. You're stepping into the cool darkness of your family home in Beit Saur near Bethlehem. You're 21 years old and you are just radiating joy. You've just secured the date for your Katib al-Kitab, the legal sealing of your commitment with the man you love. The future feels, vibrant. But the moment the door clicks shut behind you, the whole atmosphere shifts. It goes from celebratory to suffocating. Before you can even speak, you realize you're not walking into congratulations. You're walking into a trap. Your brothers, your brother-in-law, they're waiting. There's no argument, no warning, just the immediate savage sound of violence. They begin to beat you wildly, relentlessly. You're confused, struggling, but they hold you fast. The pain is absolute, overwhelming, until everything just goes dark. And when the world fades back in, you're left with the chilling physical evidence of their rage. Severe bruising, broken ribs, and a fractured spine. This is the starting point of our deep dive into the story of Israa Ghrayeb. It's a tragedy that goes far beyond just one night of violence. It's a shocking case study, really. It's about the collision of modern success and ancient cultural expectations, and ultimately the profound legal ambiguity that followed, which sent shockwaves across the entire Arab world. We have to unpack not just the events, but the poison that fueled them.
What stands out immediately is that incredible contrast you just laid out. Here was a young woman, Israa, succeeding on her own terms, fiercely building a financially independent life.
Yeah.
And her success, which, should have been a source of pride, instead became the flashpoint for immense pressure and ultimately lethal envy.
Let's look at the shape of that life before the tragedy. Born in 1998, Israa was known for her vibrant personality, her love for art.
Right. And she found her calling early on as a makeup artist.
She was serious about it too, wasn't she?
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't just a hobby. She invested heavily in her craft, created a dedicated workspace inside her family home, bought high-quality products. She became a real go-to person in the Bethlehem area.
Especially for brides and events.
Exactly, specializing in that.
And the decision to work from home, while it fit with her family's preferences,
It actually allowed her to achieve this profound level of independence.
she was earning significant income, self-reliant, supporting herself, and even contributing to the family.
And that financial autonomy is so crucial here. It's a real point of vulnerability in this narrative. The sources highlight that this success, this popularity and self-sufficiency, was being watched with bitter jealousy by those closest to her.
And here we meet Reham, a cousin raised almost like a sister to Israa.
Yeah, not just external competition. This is a snake in the nest, as you said.
Right.
Israa treated Reham like a confidant, shared personal details, secrets, never suspecting the deep resentment Reham felt. Resentment over Isra's growing popularity, her professional success. That jealousy just silently growing alongside Isra's career was about to be, weaponized.
So we have the successful woman, this hidden enemy simmering, and then the next natural step in her life, engagement.
She meets a respectable man, financially comfortable, from Bethlehem. Seems like a good match.
On paper, yes.
But Israa approached it very much on her own terms. She agreed, but only on the condition of a long engagement period. She wanted to be sure of compatibility. But the major thing was ensuring he respected her career, that he'd allow her to continue working after they married. And he accepted those terms.
So she set her boundaries. But the fateful meeting that day, the one where she finalized the wedding contract date, that was all done strictly by the book, socially speaking, right?
Totally. She got permission. He brought his sister as a chaperone. They were picked up and dropped off together. Nothing happened outside the agreed-upon norms.
Okay, so the engagement itself, the meeting, all above board.
Correct. But the critical error, as it turned out, was public. Overwhelmed with happiness at securing the date, Israa posted pictures of herself with her fiancé on her social media accounts.
And that single act of sharing joy online, why did that become the catalyst for such extreme violence? How does that translate to disgrace?
Well, in that specific, very traditional context, any public display of affection, or even just closeness, especially on social media where the whole community sees it, before the full religious and social sealing of the marriage, it can be instantly interpreted as a severe breach of family honor.
Implying she's been too open, too available.
Exactly. The intent was just pure joy, sharing happiness. But the impact was perceived as public shame for the family. That photo, shared widely, that was the switch that flipped the violence.
Which brings us right back to that savage night and first brutal hospitalization. Israa arrives at the hospital. Critical condition, fractured spine, broken ribs, severe trauma.
And the hospital naturally notifies the police.
And the family, they had their story ready. Locked and loaded.
Immediately. They claim she suffered the injuries because she had thrown herself off the balcony, and here's where we hit that first major cultural hurdle for justice. They claim she was delusional, possessed by a jinn and evil spirit, that she was responsible for her own injuries.
Chilling. And the manipulation worked, didn't it? When security questioned Israa.
Partially conscious, surrounded by her family, she denied the beating.
She backed up their story, claimed she felt dizzy, and fell.
She did, from the first-floor balcony. So, without the victim's testimony, despite the obvious physical evidence of a brutal assault, the police case was initially closed.
Wow.
And what's even more alarming is how fast the family moved to get her out of there. Because of her social media fame, news of her being in hospital spread quickly.
So they wanted her out of the public eye.
Precisely. They insisted on taking her home, signed a release form accepting responsibility for full care, even though she was in critical condition. They knew the scrutiny would only increase if she stayed in the hospital.
So she's home, recovering from a fractured spine, completely vulnerable. What was the specific poison Reham used? What drove the men to such violence initially and made them risk pulling her out of the hospital?
While Israa was at home, she apparently discovered the root cause of the family's extreme rage. It was Reham. Her cousin hadn't just sent the happy engagement photos to the whole family group chat. She'd amplified them with venomous commentary, really poisonous rhetoric.
What was the core accusation?
It was brilliant and deeply corrosive.
Yeah.
Reham accused Israa of disgracing the family's honor, and this is key. She suggested that the men, the father, the brothers, were silently accepting this supposed shame because Israa was giving them money, contributing financially.
Oh, wow. So she directly linked Israel's independence, her financial success.
To their perceived failure as guardians of family honor.
Exactly.
Framing it like a trade-off, they were selling their honor for her cash.
Precisely. That explains the depth of the rage, the feeling of being emasculated, perhaps.
That makes sense of the extreme reaction. And we know this from leaked audio and messages. You hear Israa, distraught, telling Reham, shame on you, pleading that her parents raised her right. But Renzo's weapon hit its mark by tying the photo, the perceived dishonor, to the idea that money was corrupting the family. She pushed the men over the edge.
Just 2 days after being taken home, her condition got much worse.
Yeah, it deteriorated so rapidly she had to be rushed back to the hospital. She needed specialized care, especially for the spinal injuries.
And even from her hospital bed, in those moments of maybe clarity, she was clearly terrified.
Desperate. She posted messages online, didn't she? Indirectly referring to what was happening.
Asking for prayers, appealing for protection from those who slandered her. It sounds like someone living in fear, not delusion.
Absolutely. But the terror wasn't over. Her 2 brothers and her brother-in-law, they returned to the hospital.
No.
Yes. They found a time, apparently, when doctors and nurses were absent, and they subjected her to a second fatal beating, right there, in her hospital room.
The horror of that, it was her own screams that alerted the staff.
Her screams alerted the medical team immediately. And once again, when confronted, the family defaulted to the jinn defense.
Unbelievable.
They claimed they were just trying to excel the jinn lover they believed possessed her, apparently following the advice of some spiritual healer they'd hired while she was briefly at home.
2 days later, Israa Ghrayeb died.
And the family initially tried to stick to an official-sounding lie. Cause of death, a heart attack.
But the truth couldn't be contained, could it?
No. Because of the immense public outcry, the scrutiny, the political nature of the case, part of her body was sent to Jordan.
Yep.
To the forensic medicine department there for a thorough, independent autopsy.
And the result?
Absolutely zero doubt. The official report stated the cause of death was acute respiratory failure due to severe beatings and abuse, leading to blood clots in the lungs, air trapping in the chest. This was unequivocally murder by assault. The medical evidence was overwhelming.
The case just exploded then, right? The hashtag #WeAreAllIsraa Ghrayeb went viral.
It became a massive public issue, a rallying cry against these so-called honor crimes.
And the final piece of evidence that really cemented public outrage, that audio recording.
Released by a nurse of Israa screaming during that final hospital beating. Haunting.
So the 3 men were arrested, official investigation, but they stuck to their story.
Never wavered. Israa was delusional, they claimed. Believed some sorcerer's prophecy she'd die violently. They insisted they were only performing an exorcism, trying to save her. A spiritual defense against brutal physical reality.
Which leads us to the painfully unsatisfying legal conclusion.
Yeah. despite that clear, incontrovertible forensic evidence confirming murder.
In February 2021, the Palestinian judiciary released the 3 accused men.
On bail, citing conflicting testimony like Isra's initial denial under duress, the family's persistent jinn defense, and, quote, lack of sufficient evidence, they were released on bail, about $14,000 each.
The failure of the justice system was so profound. I remember the media coverage saying Israa Ghrayeb had tragically died twice.
Died twice. Once at the hands of those who should have protected her, and a second time when the legal system failed to hold them accountable, at least initially.
This whole case, it just serves as this terrifying illumination of that ultimate conflict, doesn't it? Clear, measurable, scientific facts from forensics, running head-on into a defense built entirely on deeply entrenched social and spiritual beliefs, beliefs that are just unprovable.
Exactly. The physical violence was undeniable, the autopsy proved it. But the defense, using the concept of the jinn lover, the need for exorcism, it proved compelling enough in that specific legal context, compelling enough to create enough doubt for that initial release on bail. It allowed them to frame murder as a twisted attempt at salvation.
So what does this all mean for you as you absorb this incredibly difficult story? The tragedy of Israa Ghrayeb really highlights a critical weakness, maybe, in justice systems grappling with these kinds of defenses worldwide.
It certainly raises a vital question, one that legal systems everywhere really have to confront. When you have compelling medical proof of fatal physical violence, hard science, how do you balance that? How do you balance it against deeply held yet unprovable cultural or spiritual explanations offered by defendants to justify brutality? It's a conflict where, sadly, the weight of cultural narrative can still sometimes manage to overshadow objective scientific truth.